Hello and a very good evening. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. I'm Frank Pereira with the news tonight. Here's a look at the top stories. Flood waters recede in Jammu and Kashmir. Over 1 lakh people evacuated so far as centre takes steps to distribute food and water. UP court returns charge sheet against BJP President Amit Shah. Election Commission orders FIR against Yogi Adityanath. Sushma Swaraj calls India Afghanistan's first strategic partner, pledges all possible support for its reconstruction. US President Barack Obama declares war on the Islamic State, announces a limited offensive that will extend to Syria as well. And Oscar Pistorius exonerated of a premeditated murder charge, judge to rule on manslaughter charge tomorrow. Top focus on the bulletin tonight. As Kashmir battles massive floods, the focus shifted to relief supplies to lakhs of people stranded in the state. More than 1 lakh people have been rescued so far by Jawans and NDRF teams. Flood situation has improved significantly on Thursday as waters have receded in many parts of the state. Here's more.
With over 1 lakh people rescued so far in the flood-hit valley, rescue teams have shifted focus to provide crucial supplies for people desperately waiting for help in submerged areas. With many people reluctant to leave their homes, the army is now concentrating on providing them food and water. Medical camps have been set up to treat the victims.
रिलीफ भी जोरों में है, रेस्क्यू भी जोरों में है श्रीनगर वैली में, और हेलीकॉप्टर्स और जो फिक्स्ड विंग एयरक्राफ्ट हैं वो रात दिन इस काम में लगे हुए हैं, ट्राइंग टू कवर द एंटायर वैली to be able to pull out a maximum people.
बेसिकली ये बीमारियां हैं जो इनके पास हो रखी हैं अभी, जो नॉर्मल एलिमेंट्स हैं इनके, बुखार, सर दर्द, खांसी, जुकाम, और जो जाड़ की बीमारी इनको ज़्यादा होगी है। और ऐसा अभी कहीं ये नहीं लगता है कि कोई एपिडेमिक यहाँ पर फैला है, लेकिन इसकी संभावना भी कभी रोकी नहीं जा सकती यहाँ।
कुछ हद तक तो हम हेलीकॉप्टर से भेज रहे हैं। मुझे लगता है हमें कोशिश करनी चाहिए ज़्यादातर रिलीफ मटेरियल जो है उसको किश्तियों के जरिए पहुंचा दिया जाए, वो हम कर लेंगे।
The center has taken more steps to ensure relief material reaches the victims as soon as possible.
वहाँ पर जो कुछ भी फूड पैकेट्स चाहिए, अन्य जो आवश्यक सामग्री होती है, मेडिकल असिस्टेंस, इन सब सारी चीज़ों के लिए बराबर दिल्ली से एक प्लेन के माध्यम से वहाँ पर चीज़ों को भेजा जा रहा है। और भी देश के दूसरे राज्यों से भी बराबर सुविधाएं वो जो मैक्सिमम की जा सकती हैं वो श्रीनगर को भेजी जा रही है। माने इस समय मैं कह सकता हूं कि पूरे देश की भावनाएं जम्मू और श्रीनगर के साथ जुड़ी हुई हैं।
जम्मू कश्मीर से लोग दिल्ली पहुंच रहे हैं अलग अलग माध्यमों से, तो नई दिल्ली स्टेशन पे हमने स्टेशन मैनेजर को नोडल ऑफिसर बनाया है, नोडल पॉइंट बनाया है। अब लक्ष्य ये रखा है कि हर दिन 50,000 रेल नीर की बोतल J&K पहुंचाई जाएंगी। इसके लिए हम एयरफोर्स की मदद भी ले रहे हैं और कुछ थोड़ी बहुत ट्रेन के माध्यम से भी पहुंचा रहे हैं।
The Met Office said that there are no more prediction of rains in the valley.
अभी फिलहाल वहाँ पर कोई ज़्यादा मौसम नहीं है, बादलों की आवाजाही है, पर आमतौर पे मौसम साफ है और कोई भारी बारिश या ऐसी कोई अभी नहीं है, और आने वाले 4-5 दिन भी ऐसा ही मौसम रहेगा।
Meanwhile, military teams continued rescue efforts overnight in a continuing multi-agency mammoth operation. An estimated 5 to 6 lakh people are still waiting to be rescued. Hectic efforts were also underway to gradually restore the snapped telecom links which had hampered rescue work. PMO officials have decided to contribute 1 day's salary to help flood-affected people of the state. With inputs from Pranav Goswami and Navvikram Singh, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Our correspondent Pranav Goswami joins us for more from Srinagar at the moment. Pranav, clearly, of course, several more people have been rescued by the rescue teams in Jammu and Kashmir because the waters have receded. But right now, the fear is that some of them who are already trapped might just be starving to death or maybe even falling really sick.
Yeah, you're right. And the rescue, at least 1 lakh people have been rescued by flood-affected areas. And now the bigger challenge for state government is going to be to prevent the mass-scale epidemic feared, because that is what is going to happen in next few days. Because relief operation will be over by next few days, but after that the rehabilitation and relief will be a very big challenge. All NDRF, DSF and Army and Air Force, they are doing their level best, but there are still lakhs of people who are stuck in flood affected areas. So that is also a very big challenge. But hats off to these agencies that they are doing tremendous job to save the lives of those who need their help, and they have been rescued, and the situation is improving day by day.
All right, Pranav Goswami, thank you so much for bringing us that latest update there from Ground Zero in Jammu and Kashmir. Meanwhile, of course, the floods in Kashmir are proving to be a testing time not only for people stranded in the state, but also for their relatives in other parts of the country. With phone lines and communication networks yet to be restored, the biggest problem is to find out the whereabouts of people in the state. Here's more.
Pankaj Kachru has been glued to his phone since Sunday. He's helplessly trying to get in touch with his relatives in Srinagar, but there's a little he can do for them. Kachru had gone to Srinagar with a group of 87 people early last week for an annual ritual at the Gangabal lake. He was one of the lucky members who took a flight back home after completing the ritual just in time before all the routes in the flood-hit valley were closed. But many of his friends and relatives remain stuck in the city.
मैंने अपने फ्रेंड्स को कॉल करने की कोशिश की बिकॉज उनकी फ़्लाइट मंडे को थी, सो आई कुड नॉट रीच देम, तो दैट वाज द सिचुएशन. नाउ द सिचुएशन इज़ कि मैं उनसे कांटेक्ट नहीं कर पाऊँ, आई एम नॉट एबल टू रीच देम. आई ओनली दैट एसएमएस सम ऑफ माय फ्रेंड्स, कुछ उनसे किसी से बात हो पा रही है या किसी से नहीं हो पा रही है. आई एम जस्ट गेटिंग द मैसेजेस दैट दे आर ओके, बट सप्लाईज ऑफ फूड, सप्लाईज ऑफ मिल्क इज़ अ कंसर्न.
Pankaj Kachru is not alone in this ordeal. With lakhs of people still stranded, Vijay Raina's phone just doesn't stop ringing. As the president of the Kashmir Samiti in Delhi, Raina has a tough task. Not only tracking his own family in Kashmir, but also helping other Kashmiris living in Delhi. He's perhaps the only link between the resident commissioner of J&K House and these families whose relatives are still untraceable.
Yesterday we met Mr. Nitin Gadkari ji, Honorable Minister of Transport. Mr. Nitin Gadkari assured us that whatsoever be the remedy to locate all these peoples in Kashmir, and we are trying my best of level, and we will do whatever we can afford.
The Ministry of Home Affairs has set up a flood control room in the J&K House in New Delhi to help people find out the fate of their near and dear ones in Kashmir. Palak Sharma, Rajya Sabha TV.
And for those looking for more information on the flood situation in Jammu and Kashmir, the centre has come out with helpline numbers. Here are the flood control room numbers set up by the government. Meanwhile, the death toll in Pakistan floods has gone up to 250 and more on Thursday. The Pak Army has so far rescued at least 22,000 people marooned due to floods in Pak-occupied Kashmir. At least another million are being evacuated from low-lying areas near the riverbanks of Chenab. The army was called in after the civilian authorities said that the floods were out of control. The army is using helicopters and boats to save lives and provide food to the people. Pak envoy Abdul Basit said that India and Pakistan are working together to overcome the disaster.
Oh, it's a terrible disaster. We are all working together to overcome this huge challenge.
In an embarrassment to the Uttar Pradesh police, a local court in Muzaffarnagar refused to take cognizance of the charge sheet against BJP President Amit Shah for his alleged hate speech in April this year. The court returned the charge sheet saying that the police did not follow procedures and tried to arrest the accused before filing the charge sheet in court. The court said police cannot file charge sheet under section 188 of the Indian Penal Code as it should be filed as a private complaint by the concerned officer who had imposed prohibitory orders which were violated.
भाई 188 में चार्जशीट दाखिल नहीं हो सकती, कंप्लेंट होगी, मजिस्ट्रेट कंप्लेंट करेगा जिसका ऑर्डर का वायलेशन हुआ, जिसने दफ़ा 144 लगा रखी थी। 173(2) में मुलजिम को साथ लेके आवेगी पुलिस, जब अरेस्ट करके जब आवेगी चार्जशीट, या ये अपना प्रयास दिखाना कि हमने कराम कूद दी कुछ। यदि माननीय न्यायालय ने उपयुक्त नहीं समझी और वापस की है तो ये न्यायिक प्रक्रिया है, इसमें राजनीतिक दल के नाते मुझे कोई प्रतिक्रिया नहीं देनी।
Well, 2 days ahead of the by-polls in Uttar Pradesh, the Election Commission has pulled up BJP leader Yogi Adityanath for violating the Model Code of Conduct. The poll panel has ordered filing of an FIR against the key BJP campaigner. Campaigning for the by-polls came to an end today for 3 Lok Sabha seats and 33 Assembly seats on Thursday.
A day after BJP leader Yogi Adityanath defied a ban and addressed an election meeting in Uttar Pradesh, the Election Commission has come down heavily on the key BJP campaigner. Pulling him up for Model Code of Conduct, the Election Commission has asked state poll officials to file an FIR against him. The poll panel's order comes after political outrage over Yogi Adityanath's actions. But BJP defended Yogi Adityanath, claiming he did not violate Model Code.
The Election Commission of India has held that Mr. Yogi Adityanath has violated the Model Code of Conduct, and by his statements he has tried to spread hatred and feelings of enmity. We just hope that this would act as a deterrent for all the BJP leaders.
मैं इलेक्शन कमीशन से बिल्कुल सहमत नहीं हूं। उनके बयानात इलेक्शन कमीशन ने पूरी तरह पढ़े हैं, उनके खिलाफ कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए, क्रिमिनल केस उनके खिलाफ चलना चाहिए। चुनाव आयोग के किसी आदेश का उल्लंघन नहीं किया है। आचार संहिता की आड़ में, उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार के दबाव में, लखनऊ जिला प्रशासन के असंवैधानिक आदेश का हमने विरोध किया है।
BJP is hoping to exploit its performance in Lok Sabha polls in the state and carry on the good show in the by-polls. Campaigning in UP came to an end on Wednesday for by-polls to 1 Lok Sabha seat in Mainpuri and 11 assembly seats. In all, by-polls will be held in 3 Lok Sabha and 33 assembly seats on Saturday. The 3 Lok Sabha seats in Gujarat's Vadodara, UP's Mainpuri and Telangana's Medak were left vacant by Narendra Modi, Mulayam Singh Yadav and K. Chandrasekhar Rao. In assembly polls, apart from 11 seats in UP, 22 more will be up for grabs in 8 states. With 9 seats at stake in Gujarat, it will be the first big test for Modi's successor Anandiben Patel. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, political posturing over the government formation in Delhi continued on Thursday. BJP President Amit Shah said that his party has the mandate to govern the national capital. He said that the BJP will not hesitate to take support from anyone for the job. Meanwhile, former Chief Minister of Delhi, Sheila Dikshit, said that the BJP should form the next government, leaving her party, the Congress, stumped.
Putting to rest any speculation about BJP's official stand on government formation in Delhi, Party President Amit Shah said his party has the mandate for the job. In an interview to Economic Times, Amit Shah also hinted that BJP will not hesitate if any other party offers to support it. He said, and I quote, "Nobody wants elections. I don't know who will support. But if someone is willing to support, obviously not through unethical means, why should we refuse?" Unquote. Former Chief Minister Sheila Dikshit also said that if BJP has the numbers, it should form the government. Her remarks left several Congress leaders surprised.
इस स्थिति पर पहुंच गई है बीजेपी कि वो सरकार बना सकती है, तो अच्छी बात है दिल्ली के लिए।
मैंने कहा है उनका बयान कांग्रेस को गले नहीं उतरा है। शीला दीक्षित को तुरंत प्रभाव से अपना बयान वापस लेना चाहिए या उस पर स्पष्टीकरण जारी करना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये बयान कांग्रेस पार्टी की नीतियों के खिलाफ है।
मैं उनका बयान देख के बड़ी हैरत में हूं कि इस तरह की बात कह देना सरकार को लेकर। मैं समझता हूं या तो किस संदर्भ में उन्होंने कहा है मैं भी समझ नहीं पा रहा, या किस दबाव में उन्होंने ये कहा है।
BJP welcomed Sheila Dikshit's statement, saying it will not take any undemocratic route to form the government in Delhi.
कि शीला जी ने एक गंभीरता से आज की जरूरत क्या है और क्या होना चाहिए, क्या नहीं होना चाहिए, ये बात उन्होंने की है।
However, Aam Aadmi Party has alleged that both BJP and Congress are hand in glove. Reacting to Sheila Dikshit's statement, Aam Aadmi Party accused the two parties of trying to shield her from corruption charges.
देखिए, हम तो पहले से ही कह रहे थे कि कांग्रेस और बीजेपी दोनों मिले हुए हैं आज शीला दीक्षित जी ने उस बात की पुष्टि की है, एक तरह से खुल के कह दिया कि कांग्रेस बीजेपी की सरकार बनाना चाहती है। तो हम चाहते हैं कि अब कांग्रेस साफ करे दिल्ली के लोगों को। अगर वो बीजेपी की सरकार बनाना चाहती है तो वो बता दे कि किन शर्तों के ऊपर वो बीजेपी के साथ क्या उनका समझौता हुआ है और किन शर्तों पे वो सरकार बनवा रही है।
The Supreme Court has asked the centre to speed up the process of government formation in Delhi. The centre will have to reply to court on steps taken in the matter within 4 weeks. For the time being, the political suspense continues whether Delhi will see another assembly election or a new government. Anu Diwan's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, it's time for a short break now, but on the other side, India successfully test fires Agni-1 capable of carrying nuclear warheads. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, the Supreme Court on Thursday restrained the Kerala government from shutting down non-five-star hotel bars. It told the government to maintain status quo till the 30th of September on the matter and asked the High Court to decide the petition challenging the state's new liquor policy. In a briefing hearing, the bench agreed that drinking was a social problem but asked why was Kerala not stopping it completely instead of limiting bar licenses to five-star hotels alone.
There is no much difference between 4-star hotels and 5-star hotels. Now, if the liquor consumption of 80% is through the beverage corporation outlet of government of Kerala, there cannot be any prohibition. So, therefore, the objective sought by this policy cannot be achieved through these measures. So, what we said is that either it has to be a total prohibition where the government outlets also should be banned, otherwise it should be open to all.
We will carefully examine the court verdict and take appropriate action. But we are firm, our firm commitment is to closure all the bars and to achieve our total prohibition by stage by stage.
സുപ്രീം കോടതിയുടെ വിധിയുടെ ട്രെൻഡ് കാണിക്കുന്നത് വിവേചനപരമായ നിലയിൽ നിരോധനമാണെങ്കിൽ എല്ലാ സ്ഥലത്തും നിരോധിക്കണം. ഒരു പാത്രം മദ്യം പോലും കൊടുത്തുകൂടാ, വിൽപ്പന നടത്തിക്കൂടാ. അതല്ല ആകാമെങ്കിൽ എല്ലാവർക്കും ആകണം.
Human Resource Development Ministry is set to revamp the National Education Policy. HRD Minister Smriti Irani has said that consultations for the new policy would begin by January 2015. The new policy would seek to bridge education with skill development for addressing the problem of unemployment. The National Education Policy currently being followed in the country was formulated in 1986 and modified in 1992.
देश को अब ज़रूरत है एक नई एजुकेशन पॉलिसी की जिसमें एकेडमिक मेरिट किस प्रकार से कौन सा कोर्स कैसे पढ़ाया जाना चाहिए इसके ऊपर भी चर्चा शामिल होगी जो प्रांतवार, क्षेत्रवार और राष्ट्रीय स्तर पे की जाएगी. हमारा प्रयास ये है कि ये डेलिब्रेशन नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी पर जनवरी 2015 से शुरू हो जाए राष्ट्र भर में.
Let's now bring you up to date with the other national news and updates in our segment Nationwide. India today successfully test-fired the indigenous Agni-1 missile from a test range off the Odisha coast. Agni-1 can carry a 1,000 kg nuclear warhead with a strike range of 700 kilometers. It has a specialized navigation system that reaches the target with accuracy. The Bombay High Court granted bail to former IPS officer of Gujarat DG Vanzara in the Sohrabuddin Sheikh fake encounter case. Vanzara is also an accused in the Tulsiram Prajapati fake encounter case. He was the Deputy Inspector General of Police of the border range at the time of his arrest in 2007. The bail was granted as several other accused have already been released. The United Naga Council ended its 8-day-long indefinite highway blockade in Manipur after Chief Minister Okram Ibobi Singh lifted prohibitory orders in Ukhrul district. The UNC had called the ban after 2 Naga protesters were killed in police firing last month. Over 500 trucks were stranded at various parts of Assam and Nagaland. The second trial run of the semi-high-speed train between New Delhi and Agra was flagged off from Hazrat Nizamuddin. The train with 12 coaches completed the journey in 102 minutes, faster than the Shatabdi Express. It's expected to roll out its first rake of 14 coaches this November. Retired naval officer Vice Admiral Vinod Pasricha was awarded the Individual Achievement Award for setting up the first submarine museum, INS Kursura. The ex-Soviet Foxtrot-class submarine INS Kursura is one of the first 4 submarines that the Navy acquired in the 1960s. It was used in the India-Pakistan War of 1971. Moving on now, ahead of the SAARC meet in Nepal, Home Minister Rajnath Singh has once again reiterated India's stand on resuming dialogue with Pakistan. He said that talks between India and Pakistan can resume only if Islamabad responds properly. His reactions came days after External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj indicated that there may be a window for resumption of talks with Pakistan. On Thursday, Pak High Commissioner Abdul Basit said that the time has come for making a new beginning in bilateral ties.
यदि प्रॉपरली रिस्पॉन्ड करता है पाकिस्तान तो मैं समझता हूं कि पुनः बात हो सकती है। पड़ोसी पड़ोसी होता है, दोस्त बदलते हैं लेकिन पड़ोसी नहीं बदलते हैं। तो हम भी ये चाहते हैं कि पड़ोसियों के साथ रिश्ते हमारे बेहतर हों।
So the time has come that we walk past the narratives of the past and make a new.
Well, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj arrived in the Tajikistan capital, which is hosting the 13th summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, with security being the focus for all member countries. Earlier, she held wide-range talks with Afghan President Hamid Karzai on political and security situation in the war-torn country and agreed to intensify cooperation in areas like security and defense.
External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj on Thursday arrived in Tajikistan capital Dushanbe for a summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The summit will focus on cooperation in the fields of economy, security and people-to-people exchanges. Earlier, Sushma Swaraj concluded her maiden visit to Afghanistan by reiterating India's commitment to rebuilding Afghanistan. Speaking at a function where Afghanistan President Hamid Karzai was presented the nation's largest flagpole, Sushma assured the host nation of every possible assistance in all spheres.
India will always be Afghanistan's first strategic partner. We are committed to assisting Afghanistan in whatever manner is possible within our means.
India also pledged $1 million to the Afghan government for the development of Wazir Akbar Khan Hill area, where a 16 to 90 feet flag on top of a 207 feet flagpole was hoisted. Swaraj held wide-ranging talks with President Hamid Karzai on political and security situation in the host country. Foreign Minister Swaraj has now visited 4 of the 8 SAARC nations since taking charge. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In some more international news now, the United States is headed back to war in Iraq, but it won't be the type of war waged during President George W. Bush's time in office. President Barack Obama announced a broad international coalition to take on the Islamic State militants, vowing to hunt them down no matter where they were, including Syria. Here's a report.
In a prime-time TV address on the eve of the 13th anniversary of 9/11, Obama told Americans he had authorized U.S. airstrikes for the first time in Syria and more attacks in Iraq, in a broad escalation of a campaign against the Islamic State militant group. Obama's decision to launch attacks inside Syria, which is embroiled in a 3-year civil war, showed the seriousness of the threat American officials see from Islamic State. A year ago, the president shied away from airstrikes against Syria's government for its use of chemical weapons against Syrians. Obama laid out his emerging plan for tackling the group in a widely anticipated White House speech, 2 weeks after coming under fire for saying he did not have a strategy for the notorious militant group.
We will hunt down terrorists who threaten our country wherever they are. That means I will not hesitate to take action against ISIL in Syria as well as Iraq. This is a core principle of my presidency. If you threaten America, you will find no safe haven.
Obama also said the U.S. would increase its support of Iraqi and Kurdish forces.
We will increase our support to forces fighting these terrorists on the ground. In June, I deployed several hundred American service members to Iraq to assess how we can best support Iraqi security forces. Now that those teams have completed their work and Iraq has formed a government, we will send an additional 475 service members to Iraq.
Obama's move to deepen US involvement in Iraq in its fight against Islamic State follows opinion polls that show Americans feel the president has been too cautious in tackling the group. Echoing President Obama's speech on Wednesday, Germany's foreign minister said the fight against Islamic State requires a political and not just a military strategy.
Wir müssen nicht überzeugt werden, dass allein eine militärische Strategie das Thema ISIS oder radikal-islamistische Gruppen irgendwie wegbringt. Sondern natürlich brauchen wir eine politische Strategie. Das ist auch, wenn Sie die ganze Rede von Obama von heute Nacht lesen, auch Teil der Rede übrigens von Obama.
In a significant move that could help rally Gulf Arab states behind the US-led coalition, key allies Saudi Arabia will host inside its territory a US training effort for Syrian rebels. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Staying on with international news now, Blade Runner Oscar Pistorius was found not guilty of the murder of girlfriend Reva Steenkamp on Thursday as a South African judge dismissed the most serious charges against him. A charge of premeditated murder would have meant a life sentence in jail, but the possibility of a manslaughter verdict still remains.
Not a premeditated murder is the verdict of Pretoria High Court Judge Thokozile Masipa as Paralympic sprinter Oscar Pistorius listened with tears rolling down his eyes. Masipa also ruled out second-degree murder in the death of law graduate and model Reva Steenkamp.
Viewed in its totality, the evidence failed to establish that the accused had the requisite intention to kill the deceased, let alone with premeditation. The state clearly has not proved beyond reasonable doubt that the accused is guilty of premeditated murder. There are just not enough facts to support such a finding.
Pistorius can still face a charge of culpable homicide. He is also facing 3 unrelated weapons charges, which will be heard tomorrow.
There is no doubt that when the accused fired shots through the toilet door, he acted unlawfully. That, however, is not the end of the matter, as culpable homicide is a competent verdict.
Pistorius has pleaded not guilty to all the charges he faces. A little more than 6 months before the shooting, Pistorius made history at London 2012 by becoming the first amputee sprinter to compete in the Olympic Games. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
That's it in this edition of the Bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.